Hey guys, I'm Lee Taylor. That's the 2021 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid Cruiser all-wheel drive, and this is a Right Lane review. For whatever reason, Aussies love a Toyota, and lately, a lot of that love has been in the favor of the new RAV4. So I wanted to find out what the hype was all about. I mean, what could possibly be so special about yet another family SUV? Actually, quite a lot, it turns out. You see, Toyota has thrown the full development gambit at the new RAV4 to replace its old sort of paper on wheels blob of a car that was the RAV4 previously. The new one's gained a little bit of size, some new styling cues, which means it's a bit of a more hip, younger looking Kluge, which I think is a good thing, and some new hybrid tech which allows for electric-based all-wheel drive system. So what actually makes the new RAV special is when you get in the driver's seat, which is something I don't normally say about Toyota. What I mean is that this is the first Toyota that I've driven in a very long time that actually is great to drive. And the last one I drove was a sporting model. So this is the first Toyota that's not a GR and not a performance car that I actually am enjoying having around. And that's pretty high praise. Within 5 minutes, I realized why people really like this car. It's smooth, it responds to your inputs. It's not a sports car, but it feels well thought out. It's easy to park, it's easy to see out of, the steering's not too heavy, not too light, the all-wheel drive system works really well, the hybrid system's intuitive, it's responsive thanks to electric motors, and you realize this car grabs people in very quickly because it ticks a lot of boxes off the bat. And Toyota spent the time on it. Toyota has spent the time developing a car that makes sense. Now, dynamically, this car is nothing to highlight, really. There's nothing super special about the RAV's dynamics. It drives well for a medium SUV. But what I like so much is that response that you don't get in something like an X-Trail because of the CVT transmission. And generally, I would have never given a Toyota high praise unless it was a GR or a sports model or maybe even a Lexus. And even then, with some of their CVTs, it's a bit iffy. So this is, I hate to say it, my favorite driving RAV. And you get a lot of kits. In this cruiser model, you get all this great safety tech, some park tech, all the assistance technology, the digital dash, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the electric tailgate, despite the annoying noise it makes. And while some of the tech seems a bit last generation, it works well and it works reliably. So that's really what Toyota is known for, is this reputation of reliability and sustainability. And in this car, you're getting a great package. You can haul the family around in, park in the town, drive around the city, mostly in electric mode, and not worry about it ever breaking, hopefully. Now, the hybrid system is rather intuitive. I find that these parallel hybrids that Toyota make are very reliable. I'm a little OCD, so I don't like that the battery never goes to 100%, but that's just me. But I live in Collingwood, so when I'm going to the gym or down to the shops, the car never exits EV mode, and the engine only turns on to charge the battery. Now, if I'm going across town or on a bit longer trip like I did earlier in the week, the engine does cut in, and if the battery gets low, it sits down and actually charges it back up. But it's all really smooth. You don't have to ask it to do anything special, and it just kind of does it in the background. Plus, you have essentially 5 modes on the RAV. You have an EV only mode, and that means you can use electric power up to, I think, about 55, 60 kilometers an hour, driving the front and the rear wheels depending on what's needed. You have a normal mode, which lets it to its own devices, a sport mode where it uses the electric motors as well as the engine and it's a bit more responsive. You can definitely feel the difference, and it weights up the steering, but it's not really that useful. Eco tries to conserve as much fuel as possible, so it uses electric motor as often as possible, and the battery goes away pretty quickly. And then you have trail mode, which basically tells the all-wheel drive computer that you're going off-road. Now, I wouldn't take the RAV heavily off-road, but I wouldn't be scared to take it down some dirt roads or gravel or lightly into the bush for some camping or something like that. And I think with this electric all-wheel drive system, it would be very advantageous because it's instantaneously adaptable. You don't have to wait for the drivetrain to catch up. You don't have to wait for the gearboxes to figure themselves out. The computer does it all and sends the power directly to the rear wheels or to the front wheels, depending on which motor needs what. So I'm actually rather impressed with the tech they've packed into this car. And from a driving perspective, I'll give it an A, which is probably the highest I've ever given a non-sport Toyota. So how's life in the front of the new RAV? Well, I actually quite like the design overall. Some of the materials are I mean, up high everything's fine, but down low it gets a bit scratchy. The seats are nice and comfortable though, and the steering wheel feels nice in the hands. All your controls are right in front of you. You have a half digital, half analog gauge cluster with graphics that look decent, but it feels a bit a generation behind, particularly when a lot of cars in the segment have full digital dashes. The center stack, again, I like the design. I just wish it wasn't skewed away towards the passenger. The infotainment feels also about a generation behind. It's a bit laggy, even though you do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I do actually like where the gear selector is though. You have a nice cool looking gear selector, and all your drive modes are right here, and actually changes color between the different drive modes, which is pretty neat. Tons of different cubby spaces, things to put whatever you can possibly think of. Some nice big cup holders, a big center armrest with plenty of storage and some USB points. My only other gripe in here though is the sunroof is about the size of a porthole and just feels a bit old. So how's life in the back of the RAV4? Well, there's plenty of space. I mean, I have tons of leg room, tons of knee room, plenty of foot room, headroom, shoulder room. It's very comfortable. I could definitely spend a bit of time back here. It is a tad dark though, mainly because the sunroof doesn't extend into the back, and you can get a full panoramic sunroof in the top of the range Edge, but not in this cruiser model or any of the lower spec models. You do get some vents as well as USB-C points, but in the middle you also still get your obligatory cup holders and armrest, which means it's quite comfortable back here. So how's the boot in the brand new RAV? Well, as standard on the cruiser models, you get an automatic tailgate, and it comes with the single most annoying noise in the automotive world. Yeah. Anyway, once you get inside, it's actually not too bad. You have a nice flat load floor, plenty of space with everything in place. You can pull the load floor up and put the load cover underneath, as well as a space saver spare down there, and a few little cubbies here and there to put things. The JBL sub is back here, and the second row does fold completely flat for those longer items, so plenty of usable space. So what's the tops, bottoms, and final verdict for the 2021 RAV4 Hybrid Cruiser? Well, on the bottom are just a few things that just really get under my skin. One's the fact that the infotainment system is just a bit old. It feels really dated in comparison to its competitors. The gauge cluster also feels old and just a bit bland when you look at the digital screens on the Tiguan and the Escape, for example. The ride quality is a bit harsh for me, and it's probably because it's lugging around a big-ass battery pack. So what's on top for the RAV4? Well, to start off with, this hybrid system is very, very good, especially in this all-wheel drive model. It's very intuitive, works away in the background, incredibly efficient. The car's also incredibly comfortable and practical to live with, plenty of space. I think it looks good, especially compared to the last model, which was a bit of a lump. And to top a lot off, it is a Toyota, so it's probably gonna last forever, and the service cost is gonna be fairly cheap. So what's my final verdict on the 2021 Toyota RAV4 Cruiser Hybrid all-wheel drive? If I'm honest, I actually like it, surprisingly, and I thought I was going to hate it, mainly because I hated the last RAV, and I didn't expect this to be that much better. But it's 10,000 times better than the last RAV, and this is a leading midsize SUV. So if you're looking for something to haul the kids around in or go on some adventures, definitely check it out. It's really kind of like a, oh, it's not working.